flying drones to be finally legalized in India, and we are discussing rules made by DGCA in this episode of Code and Solder. So finally, after almost like 2 years of banning flying drones, the Director General of Civil Aviation, or DGCA, which governs aviation in India, has finally come up with a set of rules which you can follow to fly your drones legally. And they have announced these rules in a 34-page PDF, if you will. And these rules will be effective from December 1, 2018. And as a drone pilot, you need to make sure you follow all these rules to fly legally drone in India. And this is an overwhelming guide, so I decided to make this video to help fellow drone pilots like me, which you can keep in mind before flying drone after December 1 in a legal way. So yeah, let's discuss that. Okay, so before going deep into the rules, I just wanted to give you a brief overview of what is a drone scene around the world, and why we need to follow these rules and why these rules are mandatory for any country. Okay, so let's start. So what is a drone? So basically, by definition, anything which is unmanned and controllable comes under the generic category of drones, which also have some subcategories and some subcategories, if you will. So like an RC airplane, an RC helicopter, and the famous multi-rotors, these all are the drones. And even your RC boats and RC cars, since they are unmanned and controllable with a remote, they are come under the category of drone. So around the world there are different bodies which regulates flying drones, and they are basically connected with the aviation body. In India, the DGCA, or the Director of Civil Aviation, is the body which is responsible to regulate aviation in the country. And finally, almost after drafting guidelines from past 2 years, they have come up with a set of rules, and now they are finally legalizing the drone back again, effective from December 1, 2018. So before India, most of the countries like United States, New Zealand, and United Kingdom has legalized the drone usage for commercial and public use. Like FAA in US, they have some guidelines on how you can legally fly drones in the state. Similarly, like FAA in United States, we have DGCA in India, and now they finally come up with these guides to fly drones legally. And talking about the drone scene in the country or in the world, there are two aspects of drone. One is the commercial aspect and another is the hobby aspect. So in the commercial aspect, all kind of activities like aerial photography, aerial videography, whether it is for wedding or some other projects, comes under it. The surveying, the mapping of an area, the surveillance, the defense, all uses of drones in this industry comes under the commercial aspects. And talking about the hobby aspects, the recreational, the aero modeling thing, the competitions of aero modeling, or FPV drone racing nowadays, these are the hobby aspects of flying drones around the world. So yeah, there is a commercial aspects and there is a hobby aspects, and in my personal opinion, I believe that DGCA has given more focus to commercial aspects and not much focus to hobby aspects, and these are clearly reflected into their guidelines, which we are going to talk about in a bit. So talking about the rule, there are two major aspects which you can see from DGCA rule. Number one is you have to register yourself as a responsible drone pilot and get a permit license. Number two is you have to register your drone itself, so it will have a unique identifier which government bodies can recognize in case of any accident or any distress situation later on. So based on the all-up weight, DGCA has categorized your drones in 5 different subcategories. Number one is a nano category, where the weight of the drone is less than half a kg. So just like this, which I'm having right now, it's a micro indoor quad, and this weight is less than half a kg or 250 grams. So this comes under the nano category. So category number 2 is micro category, where the weight of the drone is more than half a kg but less than 2 kg. So all over FPV-Racing drones, like this one I'm holding right here, FPV-Racing drone generally comes under this category because their weight is more than half a kg but less than 2 kg. So it is good they have added this 2 kg for micro category. Initially it was 1 kg, but in this set of rules which they have finalized, the micro category is a drone where the weight is more than half kg but less than 2 kg. The third category is the small category, in which the weight of the drone is more than 2 kgs but less than 25 kgs. So I guess the DJI Phantom would fall into this category. I'm not sure about the weight of the DJI Inspire one, but might be it's less than 25 kg, so it will fall into this category as well. I'm not sure as of now. The fourth category is a medium category where the weight of the drone is more than 25 kgs but less than 150 kgs. So I guess the drones which are used to shoot advertisement, which carry some good DSLR cameras, would fall into this category. Fifth and the last category of drones is a large category where the weight of the drone plus the payload is more than 150 kgs. So I guess for making movies they use drones which can carry 4K ultra high definition cameras like Alexa Mini, RE2, or even the Red camera. So I guess they have weight of more than 150 kgs, and that falls under the large category. So now talking about the drone imports. So generally people import drones and drones part from China, from United States and different countries, and most of the time the pilots were complaining that their drones were seized in the customs and they were getting the letter to take permit from DGCA before they can custom clear it. So now you can legally import drones if you follow these guidelines. So you do not have to give any explanation if you are importing drone for nano category, which is basically less than 250 grams. So everything is safe there. So you can import small FPV-Racing drone up to 3-4 inch I guess, and indoor drones, so no issues there. And if you are importing a drone other than in the nano category, then you have to take permission from DGCA to get it custom cleared. And DGCA basically have attached a form with this set of rules which you can fill and send it to DGCA to get the custom clearance. I'm not sure whether you have to send a hard copy or you send a soft copy because it is not mentioned there. But in the form they have asked your name, the drone company, the make and the model, and the reason for importing it. So if you can justify everything and they see it's legitimate, then they will give you custom clearance. And also you have to take permission from telecommunication department as well, in case your drone which you are importing it doesn't operates on free frequency. So basically there is a frequency band. Some frequencies are free to use, for some frequencies you have to take license, and if the drone which you are importing doesn't falls under the free frequency for usage, then you have to also take permission from telecommunication department. And lastly, you need to register the imported drone to DGCA website as soon as you get it to obtain a UIN number. And talking about the UIN number, it's basically a unique identifier for your drone. You will get a unique number when you register your drone to DGCA website. So if you're having 5 drones, you have to go and register each and every drone differently to DGCA website, and you will get 5 UIN number, which is basically like a number plate for your drone. Talking about registration, DGCA has launched a new platform called D.G.C.A, which will make this process easier. You just have to go to the website, fill up a form where you will mention your pilot name, the frequency on which the drone is operating, the make and the model, and they have promised that you will get a UIN number in 2 working days if everything is legitimate. So that is pretty good. If you are a drone company, then you also have to mention the CIN number, the GST number, and all kind of company related stuff before registering yourself or your drone onto DGCA website. So 2 questions arises here. Number 1 is, what if I'm a company having 500 drones? So it would be a very time taking process to register each and every drone. And number 2 is, what if someone is coming outside from India and bringing their drone during their holidays or during their stay? So do they get a temporary UIN number, or they do not have to register their drone at all? So these things are not mentioned in the rule book. Lastly, the nano categories drones and the drones owned by the intelligence agencies, they do not need to obtain a UIN number. Okay, so that was about registering your drone. Now let's talk about registering yourself as a pilot. So if you fly anything below 2 kgs, or that is if you fall under the category of micro and nano drones, you do not have to register yourself. That is a bit relief for FPV drone racing pilots, as we mostly fly models less than 2 kgs, so that is a good thing, I would say. Otherwise, if you fly models more than 2 kgs, then you have to obtain a so-called UAOP, or Unmanned Aircraft Operator Permit, from DGCA, which you can get again from D.G.C.A platform by submitting an application. And in this application you have to mention the statement of purpose, like why you need this permit, which drone you are going to fly, where you are going to fly. You also have to show some proof of the permission of the property where you are going to fly the drone. You also have to submit the pilot details. You also have to take frequency security clearance. You have to show that, and you have to show the ID proof of the pilots, and they have promised to give this permit if everything is legitimate within 7 working days. And this UAOP, if one obtained, is valid for 5 years, so that is a good thing. And anyone into aerial videography or survey would be highly recommended to register themselves and get a UAOP from DGCA. Since this is valid for 5 years, it's a pretty good thing. So I think if you are dealing with such kinds of thing where you have to fly models more than 2 kgs, it is recommended to register yourself. It's a bit of hassle first time, but once you obtain this, I think you're good to go. Alright, so now let's talk about some safety requirements which is mentioned by DGCA in this rule book. Number one is you have to report to police immediately if you lost your registered drone with the UIN number. It's just like having a licensed revolver. If it is lost, you have to report it to police immediately. Otherwise, someone can misuse it and you will get into trouble. So this is one thing. Number two is you have to report any incident in which your drone is involved. So if there is any crash, if there is any mishappening, then you have to report it immediately. Number three is you have to cancel the UIN number if drone is damaged during a crash or whatsoever. So if your drone gets into an accident and it's not more usable without repairing, then you have to cancel the UIN number with DGCA and release the UIN number. Number four is you cannot resell your drone without DGCA permit. Once your drone is registered and obtained a UIN number, then you can no longer resell it without their permit. Lastly, you have to change your contact details. If you move to a different address or have a new phone number, then you also have to change the details to the DGCA platform. So that was about safety requirements you have to keep in mind. Now let's talk about this remote pilot training program which everyone in the community is hyped about. So according to DGCA, you have to be at least 18 years of age to be a drone pilot, and in my opinion this is completely bullshit. There is no relation with your age and your piloting skills, and around the world and even in India, I have seen a lot of amazing pilots who fly tremendously well and who are not of 18 years of age yet. So I really feel bad about you guys. Also, there is one more rule that you have to pass 10th examination in English to be a drone pilot. So again, a bullshit rule, I would say. The third rule is you have to obtain a training from DGCA certified drone pilot training school. And again, this is completely useless. Like why you want to train yourself if you are already a skillful drone pilot? Why you just cannot take a test straight away and skip this training? Again, there would be monopoly of these companies who will obtain this license and they can charge a good amount of fee to give you this training. What this company will do with your data? There can be some privacy issues. So this training school will teach you about these drone rules, how to fly them, some theory subject and radio frequency. And talking about the radio frequency, I would recommend if you are really serious about this drone school, then teach yourself what is a radio frequency, radio engineering, and how this frequency hopping algorithm works, also some aerodynamics. And talking about radio frequency, I would highly recommend, if you're really serious, then get a ham license. So in every country you can take a ham license test. Similarly in India you can get a ham license. You will get your own personal call sign if you take this test. And yeah, it is highly recommended to have a ham license if you're really serious about doing this stuff. They will also teach you about no drone zones, when to fly, when not to fly, and aviation meteorology. So you know this stuff like Alpha to Delta, Charlie, and same kind of things, calling each other in call signs. So this is pretty interesting. Okay, so that was about the drone training program. Now let's talk about the equipment requirements which your drone needs to follow to be a legalized DGCA drone entity. And this is where I really felt that DGCA has left out the hobby aspects of our drone. And you will see in a minute, like your drone must have a horizontal and vertical positioning system. So in a multi-rotor platform, your flight controller has a horizontal and vertical control system, so that is there. But what about fixed wing? Like in fixed wing, it is entirely manually controlled with a remote control, and we do not need a vertical and horizontal positioning system. So there is no mention about the fixed wing, if they are exempted, if they are not. So only exemption from this rule is a nano category. Again, there is no mention about the fixed wing or the entirely manually driven drones. So your drone must have a horizontal and vertical positioning system. Your drone must have an autonomous flight termination system. I don't know what that is. Your drone must have a return to home feature. So for return to home feature, you have to have a GPS. For GPS to work, you need to have a compass and all kind of things we do not put on our FPV-Racing drones or on our fixed wing platform. So I really feel that due to these points, the hobby aspects have been left out by DGCA. Your drone must have anti-collision blinking strobe lights. So these are just some blinking lights, LEDs. These are easier to put, but again an overhead. Your drone should have an RFID transmitter. I don't know what that is for. Maybe they can just tap their phone and see the drone information and unique identifier number. God knows what that is. Your drone should have a GSM SIM card slots. I don't know why. Your drone have a data flight logging. In FPV drone platform, some of the pilots can do data logging on their flight controller or a micro SD card to analyze their flight, but I don't know what kind of flight data logging they are asking for. They are not mentioning it explicitly. And again, why in the fixed wing I would want a data logging for? I just want to go and enjoy my flight. So this is again where I felt that they have left the hobby completely out. Except the nano and the micro, there are some more conditions your drone need to follow, like your drone should have an SSR transponder, your drone should have a barometric equipment, your drone should have geofencing capabilities, your drone should have detect and avoid, and I really don't have any idea what these things are, but if you are flying some bigger birds, then you need to have these kinds of things. So that was a drone requirement. Now let's talk about when and where you can fly and how to obtain flight permission. So according to DGCA, you can only fly during the day. So goodbye is FPV night racing. Goodbye wedding photography for the weddings which happens in night, by the way. And you can only flying visual line of sight all the time. So I don't know what about these FPV long range stuff. Is it gone? I don't know. So according to DGCA, you can only fly in day when there is good visibility and only fly visual line of sight. So I don't know, like, what about FPV? What about long range? What about our night drone races? I don't know. Okay, so except nano drones, you have to obtain flying permits before each and every flight operation, and you can take the permission from D.G.C.A online platform, which they will deny if there is some VIP movement in that area where you are planning to fly a drone. If that is a no flying drone, maybe during national holidays, and maybe if that is a no drone zone at all, so then they can deny you permission. But if everything is legitimate, they will give you permission from that D.G.C.A platform or application. Now along with that, you also have to take permission from air traffic controller. You also have to inform air defense controllers. You also have to take police permission before each and every flight. You also have to establish a communication link between air traffic controller and your drone downlink, so they can give you some commands if necessary. I don't know how you will do that, but yeah, that is mentioned in their rules.
One small thing I missed during recording of this video is DGCA will categorize the Indian airspace into 3 categories. The red zone, where you will not get drone flying permission whatsoever. Then there is a yellow zone which is restricted and where you can ask for permission with that D.G.C.A application and you can get that. There is a green zone in which you do not need to take any permission and you are free to fly it whenever you want.
Alright, so there are some flying restriction as well, like you cannot fly in a 5-kilometer radius around airports. That is really good, and we as a pilot understand this thing. You also cannot fly 5 kilometer near to any international borders of line of control or any country border. We also understand and respect that. You also cannot go beyond half a kilometer from coastal line to sea. So long range sea flight FPV, goodbye. You also cannot fly 3 kilometer to any military base or cantonment area. Yes, we do respect that. You also cannot fly a 5 kilometer radius to Vijay Chowk, Delhi, and that is the area around India Gate and Rashtrapati Bhavan. You also cannot fly 2 kilometer radius of any monument, and yes, we do respect that. Again, if you want to take permission, special permission to fly near to any of such areas, which generally happens in case of movie shootings, then you can obtain all of this from DGCA separately. Okay, so that was about no flying limits. Now let's talk about some manufacturing aspects of these rules. So the manufacturer have to follow some particular standards set by DGCA for their upcoming drones. So for the nano and the micro category, the OEMs are free to decide their standards. So like if DJI says you have to have 5 sensor in micro and nano category, then DGCA will accept that. And in my opinion, most of the countries are going to make drone less than 250 grams in future, because around the world I have seen 250 gram is the benchmark, after which the harsh rules starts to apply. So new folding micro drones which we can expect to see from these manufacturers. So if you are a drone manufacturer in India, you have to obtain a compliance certificate, and in the compliance, DGCA will give you a set of rules which you have to follow before manufacturing any drone. Lastly, you have to have an insurance of your drone. This is a good and the bad thing at the same time. Bad is, again, if I am having 100 drones, then 100 insurance. Good is, like, if there is some accident, you will get some insurance. You can repair your drone with that insurance, or if some person is hurt, you can use that to have a third party insurance as well. Again, company will have monopoly which company will offer the drone insurance, and how they're going to use the data is again a problem. Lastly, all these rules you must abide if you are a drone pilot, because there are some IPC sections which they have mentioned which would be applicable if you broke any law. Okay, so that was a small summary of the DGCA rules, and after seeing that rule, it's a bittersweet kind of feeling. It's good to see DGCA finally thinking about drones legalization, since most of the countries drones are legal to fly, and finally in India we can legally import and fly drones. So this is a good thing. Bad thing because there are too much steps involved, and it's pain to have follow all of this, taking permit before each and every flight. What would happen if you cannot fly for some reason during the permit time, like if it rained and you want to fly after the rain, then you have to take permission again. What would happen if you do not get permission at all for some reason? What would happen if there is a software glitch? What would happen if there is a network issue? So there are some concerns, and DGCA have said that they are also have started working on the version 2 of this rule. So we will see some improvements based on the feedback sent by the pilot. So we are hoping for the best. Scary thing here is, like, DJI are in talk with the OEMs and drone manufacturers to implement these rules in the firmware level. So just like there was an incident a couple of years back where a drone was spotted flying near the White House, and the drone was a DJI Phantom, I guess. And after that, DJI has released a patched upgrade to their firmware which do not allow drone to take off anywhere near to no drones or no flying zones. So if DGCA successfully convince companies like DJI to have these features in their drone, then these drones will be linked with the Digital Sky platform, and if you do not get permission to fly, then our drone will not take off. So that is one scary thing, and let's see how it goes. And I really hope that DGCA will take some inputs from hobbyists as well. So the aero modeling hobby, which is a really old hobby in the country, will stay longer and will prosper. So that is it, guys, for this video. Hope you have some insights about this new DGCA drone rules, and if I missed something, let me know in the comment section. Also, our FPV drone racing community is planning to write an email to DGCA, and if you think we should add some points as a suggestion to DGCA to have this in the new 2.0 rules which they are planning, let me know in the comment section, and I'll make sure to include that as well in the mail. And let's really hope for the best for next set of rules. So that's it for today's video. I'll see you in the next one.